we're going to look at entrepreneurship shortly, and some potential free advice, which is interesting. To be fair, I think entrepreneurship is one of those things that I've always advocated. I think probably should be taught as early on as possible. But anyway, what do I know? So we're going to speak to Tom Kitchin, who's a chef and co-founder of the Kitchen Group. He's going to give us a bit of an insight into entrepreneurship and all things around, some potential advice. So, Tom, on the show, great to have you on board.
Oh, thanks, Jimmy.
So, can you give us a bit of a rundown, Tom? What's the data tell us?
Oh, so for your listeners, I'm a chef. My name's Tom Kitchin. I have restaurants in Edinburgh, and we're one of the things I'm most proud about in our restaurant is my wife and I. We set the business up 19 years ago. It's the longevity of the restaurant and how we survive. But WorldPay, I've done this really interesting research which has just come out. But small and medium-sized business owners are turning to family and friends for an average of 18 hours of free advice. That's free advice. And in addition to that, they're getting technical stuff that supports their business for 17 hours. And that made me really think about, 19 years ago when we set up the business. I'm a chef, Jimmy. I cooked all my life, and I really had no idea about the big, bad world of having your own business. And one of the best bits of advice I got was putting your hand up and asking for help. Now, when I say asking for help, I was talking about friends, family, colleagues, and more technology. And what we did is we created something that we called our business besties, okay? And that is exactly what the message I'm trying to get over to young entrepreneurs is that you have to ask for help. And my business besties have always been my friends, my family, and now technology as well. And the technology part is really, really important and interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting point you've made there. So I think for me, one of the things is that you mentioned obviously yourself, being a chef, and I think that sometimes the issue is for a lot of people is you might be really good at what you do. You could be a good chef, you could be a good personal trainer, you could be a good whatever, really. But the issue is running a business is a whole different ball game, really. I think sometimes you kind of think, well, I'll just get through on my ability. But a business can be really hard, to run. There's so many things that we need to take into consideration, where it's not just about being, the chef or PT or whatever it is. Yeah. How does this sort of come into play, Tom? I mean, what can sort of people do? Technology now has been a whole new, just when I think a lot of people are getting their head around, things that technology sort of blowing the doors wide open now. It's just, with AI and all sorts of stuff, it looks to me that things are going to change and never be the same again, really.
Yeah, technology is massive. It's absolutely. First of all, when you set up your own business, I always joke that sometimes it's like you're getting into the big roller coaster and the harness is coming down and you buckle up and you're going on this roller coaster ride, highs, lows. It is an absolute roller coaster having your own business. It's 24/7. But certainly the challenges of running a business. Someone like WorldPay offers something called WorldPay 360, which is like an all-in-one business management and payment solution, designing to let you create customer experiences and empower your business growth. And it's really, really an important part of what we do in the hospitality industry, of like having the support of WorldPay, knowing that from the moment the people come through the front door to the final part of the dining journey, paying the bill, that you have the best possible experience and you have a business partner that you can trust.
Absolutely. And for yourself, it's really like interesting sort of, journey, Tom. I mean, I think that, I always think for me, the hospitality industry is tough. Obviously, I don't know a great deal about it, but sometimes, if I go for a bite in a restaurant or something like that, I think, wow, this is sort of tough, really. And, we've sort of, especially with rising costs and other stuff as well. And and it's a competitive market, really. I mean, what's your journey been like, Tom? I know it's sort of going off piece a little bit, but it's not often, it's great. I mean, this show, we get to speak a lot of interesting people like yourself, and I think it's great to sort of like, get a bit of an insight for you. I mean, the sort of roller coaster, what's it like been for you, Tom? What have you seen over the years from when you began to sort of where you are now? Because I think that, I think that there's got to be an admiration of people like yourself who's had that longevity, really. You keep going. You would have seen, no doubt, sort of, economic changes and other stuff that goes on. And what are some things, what are some sort of, I know it's hard to give advice, but what are some of the things that sort of really sort of helped you along the way?
Jimmy, I was really lucky. I've worked in what I class as some of the best kitchens in the world, in Scotland, London, Paris, Monte Carlo, learning from the best chefs in the world. But even though I had this incredible CV of restaurants, when we set up the business, I needed the support and the support of others who could do things that I couldn't do. So I've seen some of the best chefs in the world try and open a restaurant and fail, because what happens is they're taken out of the kitchen where they're creating, because they're not getting the help and the support and actually putting their hand up and asking for help. The business is taking the chef out of the kitchen, and then that's detrimental to the running of the business as well. So, really, and the other thing I think with businesses as well is young people, we live in this world where, certainly in our industry, they think they need to open 5 businesses in 5 years. Take your time, create a really good, solid business, something that has infrastructure, great values, and is really cemented as part of the community. And then you can grow naturally and organically. And the community is a big part of what we do as well. I think businesses, you need to be part of the community. You need to work with fellow restaurateurs, suppliers, and, companies like WorldPay as well, people that you can trust.
Yeah, absolutely. And just sort of like, in terms of, say, I know you've given some examples sort of in terms of like WorldPay. And I mean, what are some things that sort of can benefit someone who has an existing business, might be starting a business? I mean, you mentioned there that people do look for advice and some guidance. Sometimes some of the advice, if I'm honest, Tom, I think, it's not always great. People with all the will in the world, they might want to give advice, but they just, they only can see from their own perspective. So sometimes I think sometimes giving you advice, friends, family, they might mean well, but not always be, great advice really. But in terms of, say, WorldPay, what are some of the sort of key things that someone can gain from that?
Well, I think they get, with the WorldPay 360, they have this, which WorldPay offers something called WorldPay 360, and it's an all-in-one business management and payment solution. So for businesses to design to unlock the opportunities, elevate customer experiences. And also, as a restaurateur, you need to have that peace of mind. You know that the money's been transferred in the right way, the correct way, and that gives you great support. And then, you have to embrace technology. We're 20 years old, but we have lots of young people in here driving the business forward, raw enthusiasm, and it's really about a blend of everything, I think.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's technology is one of them, Tom. That's one thing for sure. I mean, it's definitely across a lot of industries now, and it's here to stay, and it's probably going to get sort of more and more, really. So, absolutely. If anyone's sort of listening in wants to sort of find out more information, Tom, anywhere they can go, really.
If you have a small business or a medium-sized business, or you're thinking of maybe setting up a business, and this research from WorldPay is of interest to you, then you can just go online, go to worldpay.com. You can learn all about the research. It's really interesting reading. And you can also learn about WorldPay and WorldPay 360 and how they could help your business. So I'd really recommend that if you're listening and this is something of interest.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you, Tom, sometimes people do try a business and kind of thing, and maybe they might be reluctant to try again because they tried maybe 10 years ago or at some point and think, what, I'm not going to bother again type thing. And, with yourself, obviously being an entrepreneur and successful and other stuff, I mean, like I said, it's hard to give advice, but is there anything that sort of you could sort of share if someone's thinking, well, I've got a passion, I want to sort of maybe try again, but in the past it hasn't worked so well, and because the world is changed now, there is technology, it is different now, and nothing ventured, nothing gained. I can't speak of everyone's situations individually, but
the passion is what is the passion is the really important bit there. You have the passion, you have the desire, the will. Maybe you have actually had a shop once before and it hasn't quite worked out, but I'm sure with that there's a lot of experiences come as well, and I think we covered it earlier on, but for me the big thing is you can't do it just on your own. You've got to delegate, you've got to put your hand up and ask for help. You've got to create your own little infrastructure of business besties, friends, family, fellow colleagues, technology. And then, if you can get that, you've got your natural passion, why you created the business in the first place, then it's well worth a shot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, getting the right people around is sort of key, and in a lot of environments, Tom, for sure. And I suppose it can be a lonely world on your own, and having some support, goes a long way. Absolutely, I think that's.
But we're all guilty of it, Jimmy, aren't we? You put your head in the sand and you kind of close your eyes and hope for the best sometimes, and we've all done it. We could all get better at it, and hopefully with this research from WorldPay, it just makes people stop and think and think about it a bit more.
No, absolutely. Thanks for your time, Tom. It's been really interesting and informative speaking to you, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.